Earlier this year, the federal government didn't just rename one of the most important quarterly payments Canadian seniors receive. They actually increased it permanently for the next 5 years. If your deposit this summer looked bigger than usual or showed up under a name you don't recognize, this is why, and I want to walk you through exactly what changed, what it's actually worth in real dollars, and the one thing that determines whether you're getting the full increase or missing part of it, because Ottawa rolled this out in 2 separate payments, and a lot of seniors only noticed one of them. I'm James Cardewell. For 11 years now, my work has been Canadian retirement programs, government policy, and the money issues that affect seniors. I'm not here to sell you anything. This is your own money, a credit funded by the tax system you've paid into for decades, and my only job is making sure you actually understand what's landing in your account and why. Nobody at the CRA phones you to explain a program rename. You're expected to just notice, or not. Before we get into the 7 things worth knowing here, drop a comment and tell me, did your bank statement already show this new name, or is this the first you're hearing of it? I read every comment, and it tells me how far this news has actually traveled. Here's exactly what we're covering, what the program used to be called and what it's called now, why the rename happened, whether the payment dates changed, the 2-part increase, a one-time top-up and a permanent 5-year bump that most people never realized were separate payments, what that actually adds up to for someone on a fixed income, whether you need to apply for any of this, and the one thing you should check today to make sure you actually received both parts of the increase. Number 1, the name change itself. For decades, this was simply called the GST/HST credit, a quarterly, tax-free payment meant to offset the sales tax lower and modest income Canadians pay on everyday purchases. As of the July 3rd, 2026 payment, it has a new official name, the Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit, or CGEB. Same program, same legal basis, same underlying calculation. Just a rebrand that more accurately describes what the money is actually meant to cover for most recipients, groceries, and the basic cost of living. The move. If you see CGAB instead of GST/HST credit on a bank statement, a CRA letter, or your online CRA account, that is not a new program you need to apply for separately. It's the same deposit you've likely been receiving for years, just relabeled. But here's the catch. Because the name changed mid-year, some seniors have assumed a letter mentioning GST/HST credit no longer applies to them, or that a new benefit called CGEB requires a fresh application. Neither is true, and that confusion alone has apparently caused a small number of people to miss checking their eligibility status altogether. This is a pattern I see over and over with federal programs. The substance stays exactly the same, but a paperwork or branding change is enough to make people assume something fundamental shifted and either ignore a letter they should have opened, or worse, ignore a deposit that shows up under an unfamiliar name and assume it landed in their account by mistake. Number 2, why the rename happened. This wasn't cosmetic for its own sake. The federal government has been signaling for months that cost of living support needed to be described in terms people actually feel day to day, and groceries and essentials tests better, communicates more clearly, and frankly reflects what most recipients are already using this money for anyway. The underlying legislation and the eligibility formula didn't change with the rename. What changed was the label on top of it. The move. Don't overthink this one. There's no new eligibility bar to clear because of the new name. If you qualified for the GST/HST credit before, you qualify for the CGEB now, automatically, with the same rules. Your income thresholds are the same. Your calculation method is the same. The legislative authority behind the payment hasn't been rewritten, only relabeled. And that distinction matters, because a genuine program overhaul would usually come with new application requirements or a transition period. This one didn't, precisely because nothing structural actually moved. Number 3. The payment dates did not change. This is good news, and it's worth saying plainly. The CGEB still pays on the same quarterly schedule the GST/HST credit always used, on or around the 5th of January, April, July, and October. If the 5th lands on a weekend or a statutory holiday, you get paid the last business day before it, exactly as before. Your October 2026 payment is expected October 5th. The move. Mark that date. Same as you always have. Nothing about your calendar needs to change because of the rename. I mention this specifically because whenever a government program gets renamed, a certain number of people assume every part of it reset. The schedule, the amounts, the eligibility, all of it. And that assumption alone can cause someone to miss checking their account on the actual payment date because they're not sure it's even coming anymore. Number 4. And this is the one I want you to really pay attention to because it's the piece most people miss entirely. This wasn't a single increase. It was 2 separate payments, rolled out months apart, and a lot of recipients only noticed the first one. On June 5th, 2026, the CRA issued a one-time top-up equal to a 50% increase over the 2025-26 value of the credit. A lump sum delivering roughly $3.1 billion in immediate support across about 12 million Canadians. Then, starting with the July 3rd, 2026 payment, the program's ongoing quarterly value increased by 25%, and that higher amount is now locked in for 5 years, continuing through the 2030-31 benefit year. So if you only remember one unusually large deposit back in June, that was the one-time piece. The second, permanent piece is the one now showing up every quarter going forward. The move. Check your June 2026 deposit against your regular July, October, January, and April deposits. If June looked like a one-time bump and the quarterly amount since July looks noticeably higher than what you were getting before this year, both pieces of the increase reached you. If only one did, that's worth a call to the CRA. Number 5. What this actually looks like in real dollars. Here's a concrete example straight from the government's own published figures. A single senior with $25,000 in net income received a one-time top-up of $267 in June, plus a permanent increase of $136 built into their regular quarterly payments, a combined total of $950 for the 2026-27 benefit year, top-up included. A family of 4 with modest income can see a total closer to $1,890 for the year. Your own number depends on your household size and your adjusted family net income. The benefit still phases out gradually as income rises above the relevant threshold at a rate of 5% for every dollar above it, so a small income difference doesn't cut you off all at once. The move. Don't assume the number from this example is your number. Every household's amount is calculated individually. Check your CRA My Account or your Notice of Determination for the CGEB to see your own confirmed annual amount, and compare it against what you were receiving under the old GST/HST credit last year to see the real size of the increase for your specific situation. Number 6. You don't apply for this separately. Here's the part that trips people up the most, especially anyone newly turning 65 this year. There is no standalone application form for the CGEB, and there never was one for the GST/HST credit before it. The CRA calculates your eligibility automatically every year based on the tax return you file, even if you had zero income for the year. That last part matters enormously. Seniors who assume they don't need to file taxes because they have little or no income are the ones most likely to miss this payment entirely because the CRA simply has no return to calculate the credit from. The move. File your taxes every single year, regardless of how little income you had. It is the only thing that keeps this credit, and the senior top-up inside it, flowing automatically. I've talked to seniors who stopped filing years ago because they figured a zero-income return was pointless paperwork, not realizing that single decision quietly cut off a benefit worth close to $2,000 a year. Filing with no income isn't a formality here. It's the entire mechanism that keeps the CRA calculating what it owes you. Number 7, and this is the one worth doing before October 5th specifically. Because this rename rolled out mid-year, a small number of recipients have reported their direct deposit or mailing information not carrying over cleanly in CRA's system during the transition. Before the October payment, log into your CRA My Account and confirm 2 things: that your banking information for direct deposit is current, and that the CGEB, not an old GST/HST credit line, shows as an active, calculated benefit on your account with a specific dollar amount attached to it. The move. 5 minutes in CRA My Account today saves you from wondering in October why a deposit you were counting on didn't show up on schedule. It's a small step, but it's the same principle behind almost everything on this channel. The money is genuinely yours. The government isn't going to chase you down to make sure it reaches you, and a few minutes of checking now is cheaper than a phone call to the CRA in November trying to track down a payment that quietly stalled during a system transition. If this was useful, hit subscribe. It's free. And it keeps you ahead of quiet changes like this one instead of finding out about them after a deposit looks different than expected. And if you know a senior who might not have realized this credit went up twice this year, once in June, once again in July, send them this video before October 5th. It could be the difference between them confirming they got the full increase and quietly missing half of it. That's it for today. I'm James Cardewell. Don't leave money on the table that's already yours. See you next time.